Hey, what is going on with y'all, man? It is Black Balloon, and I'm coming back with another video, so y'all already know what's going on. Alright, y'all. Now this time we get to cover a different topic on a Sunday, and unfortunately it involves two Boeing whistleblowers that have recently died in the last 2 months. Now, I saw when the first story came out, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't look deep into it. And now when the second guy dies suddenly, it really makes me think what is actually going on in the aviation industry with people who has been coming out. Now, there's also another guy who went on like this board. Y'all know how they do, like when the FBI does those kind of, I don't know if you would call them interviews or not, but they go in front of like a panel of senators and they talk about Chinese hackers and so on. They had another one where a whistleblower from the same industry, the aviation industry, I don't know if he was Boeing or not, I can't remember, but he talked about some of the same things that these two guys were talking about and exposing, and he talked about it in front of a couple of senators. And I have a piece of that clip as well that we will listen to. We'll also listen to the first guy that died. He unalived himself. Supposedly, he used a handgun to the head and unalived himself in a hotel. So I just want to let y'all know that, because we've covered so many of these kind of stories with industry celebrities, artists, actors in the past. Just from that alone, we already have an idea of what is going on, especially someone who is a whistleblower and is a part of a billion-dollar industry, which is the aviation industry. So we're going to get into those clips. Also going to read from an article that goes into the details of how this second guy died so suddenly, and it's very shocking and tragic. It's crazy that this is actually going on right now. It's probably, most recently the most in-your-face story, like bold. This is bold because we know what's going on. The entire world knows. The headlines aren't, second guy from aviation industry dies. The headlines are the second whistleblower dies within 2 months. Like, everybody is posting it. Every major news article is covering it. But it also makes you question, why is this getting so much attention? But at the end of the day, if it involves safety of people and inspections on planes and things not being done properly, then it makes a lot of sense on why it's being exposed. Especially recently, I think a door flew off one of those Boeing planes mid-flight. A door just flew off. So, this lets us know that across all industries in this country, things are going on that are a lot more sinister than we think. And in order to protect billion-dollar industries like the medical industry, aviation industry, entertainment industry, these people will do anything to protect their name and their money and their reputation. So with that being said, y'all, we'll jump into this first clip, then we'll read from this article next. So check this out.
This is not a 737 problem. It's a Boeing problem. And I know the FAA's gone in and they've done due diligence and inspections to assure that the door plugs of the 737 are installed properly and the fasteners are stored properly. But my concern is, what's the rest of the airplane? What's the rest of the condition of the airplane? And the reason my concern for that is, back in 2012, Boeing started removing inspection operations off their jobs. So it left the mechanics to buy off their own work. So what we're seeing with the door plug blowout is what I've seen with the rest of the airplane, as far as jobs not being completed properly, inspection steps being removed, issues being ignored. My concerns are with the 737 and the 787, because those programs have really embraced the theory that quality is overhead and non-value added. So those two programs have really put a strong effort into removing quality from the process. When I first started working at Charleston, I was in charge with pushing back defects to our suppliers. And what that meant was I'd take a group of inspectors and actually go to the supplier and inspect their product before they sent it in. Well, I'd taken a team of 4 inspectors to Spirit Aerosystems to inspect the 41 section before they sent it to Charleston. And we found 300 defects. Some of them were significant that needed engineering intervention. When I returned to Charleston, my senior manager told me we had found too many defects and he was going to take the next trip. So the next trip he went on, he took 2 of my inspectors. And when they got back, they were given accolades for only finding 50 defects. So I pulled that inspector aside and I said, "Did Spirit really clean up their act that quick? That don't sound right." And she was mad. She said, "No." Said the 2 inspectors were given 2 hours to inspect the whole 41 section and they were kicked off the airplane.
Now, the clip we were just listening to is a guy that I'm going to say first went viral for exposing Boeing and them running inspections that they basically closed down and told them, look, we don't pay y'all to find everything that's wrong with these aircrafts. We only pay you to do a little bit. You know, when you start knowing a little bit too much, speaking out a little bit too much, now, you know, we got to send you packing. You know, because he explained it exactly how you would imagine it. They don't take the guy that's actually, you know, the head of the team. He said they took 2 of his inspectors and they came back and awarded them for only finding 50 defects when he originally found 300. So he said, look, we've been getting away with cheaping out and doing the process the way that we do it for so long. We don't need you, you know, pedaling around, digging up everything that's going on with these aircrafts because you're finna cost us a lot of money and so on and so on, plus a lot of contracts. That guy seemed like he had a very straight on head. It was a 62-year-old man, and I highly doubt he was feeling like unaliving himself at that time of his life. Now, the other guy that just recently died, which is the one to the left of this picture, said he was experiencing a lot of stress, and that maybe is what caused his sickness because he got fired. And he was also in the middle of a case that was not yet solved, that was ongoing when he died. Now, the one they said unalived himself, I have a clip where a close friend to the family said that, you know, if something happens to him, it was not what they're going to tell you. And you have to think about it. Boeing is a major military contractor. They have defense products, including helicopters, Air Force One, and autonomous systems. Just recently, in 2024, Boeing received new contracts for the following military projects. A FA-18 Super Hornet, which is the name of the project I'm going to assume, $1.3 billion to build and deliver 17 jets and a technical data package for the U.S. Navy. They also got $1.1 billion to deliver 10 jets, along with 2 FA-18F and 5 Lot 47 aircrafts to bolster the Navy's aerial strength. Another one called WGS-12 communications satellite. $439 million to build the 12th wideband global SATCOM satellite for U.S. Space Force's Space Systems Command. So think about this. Stuff like this getting out to the public, and we're just talking about aircrafts. But think about what Boeing is actually involved in with the military. They have billion-dollar contracts with the military. So, of course, they will do everything they can to keep the structure of who they are as a company legit. So it's not far-fetched at all that they are having these people killed off. Even at the lowest level. These are just, not going to say they're just engineers because, a lot of us, we don't know much about all this stuff. We don't study, aviation, planes. We're not plane engineers and all this good stuff. A lot of the terminology may go over people's head. But it's the same thing, like I was saying earlier, with all of these industries. It's the same thing. And this just goes a little bit, deeper. I'm not going to say I'm glad this happened, but I'm glad we have the opportunity to talk about it and expose it. And, those are definitely brave dudes because they probably knew this was coming. So with that being said, we'll let y'all check out this clip of the family member saying he knew it was coming, as in the 62-year-old guy who they say unalived himself in a hotel. Check this out.
I know that he did not commit suicide. There's no way.
First tonight, our investigative reporter Ann Emerson has new information in the death of Boeing whistleblower John Barnett. A close family friend of Barnett says he predicted he might wind up dead, that a story could surface that he killed himself. But he told her, don't believe it. Ann?
Tessa, Barnett's family friend Jennifer said they had talked about this exact scenario playing out, but his words seemed like a premonition. He told her, don't ever believe it.
I knew John because his mom and my mom are best friends. And so over the years, get-togethers, birthdays, celebrations, and, whatnot, we've all got together and talked, and, that's how we really know each other.
And when Jennifer needed help one day, Barnett came by to see her. They talked about his upcoming depositions in Charleston. Jennifer knew he filed an extremely damaging complaint against Boeing. He says the aerospace giant retaliated against him when he blew the whistle on unsafe practices. For more than 30 years, Barnett was a quality manager. He'd recently retired and moved back to look after his mom in Louisiana.
He wasn't concerned about safety because I asked him, I said, aren't you scared? And he said, and his voice and the way he would talk, no, I ain't scared. He said, but if anything happens to me, it's not suicide. I know that he did not commit suicide. There's no way. He loved life too much. He loved his family too much. He loved his brothers too much to put them through what they're going through right now.
And he basically told you not to believe it.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Not true. He's got too much to do, likes breathing. And he did. He had a lot of plans and things that he wanted to do.
What do you think happened?
I think somebody got in there and made, money can buy anything nowadays, it seems like. And there's a lot of evil in this world. I think somebody didn't like what he had to say and wanted to shut him up and didn't want it to come back on anyone. So that's why they made it look like a suicide.
Now, there have been multiple, come to find out, if you haven't been looking into this stuff deeply, there's been multiple whistleblowers. The two that died recently in the last 2 months have made headlines the most. But we can watch a quick clip of a guy recently in the last month or so that went on a Senate panel and talked about some of the same things that the guy in the clip we just watched, the 62-year-old, talked about. There was also another guy who I'll put his picture up on the screen. He went on record a couple of years ago in front of another Senate panel and did a bunch of interviews. And there's a little piece from this article about some of the things that he found out as well. So just real quick, it says in October 2018, a lot of people may remember this, a Boeing 737 MAX carrying more than 180 passengers and crew members crashed in Indonesia, killing everyone on board. 5 months later, another Boeing 737 MAX went down in Ethiopia with more than 150 people. Former Boeing manager Ed Pearson, which is a guy on the screen, rang alarm bells internally at the company before the planes crashed, highlighting major problems at the 737 factory with overworked staff operating under relentless pressure. After the back-to-back tragedies, he decided to go public as a whistleblower and testified to the U.S. Congress about the company's failings as well as the failures of aviation authorities. Now, this is the most recent death of the whistleblower. Now, this is the most recent case of Boeing whistleblowers to die. His name is Joshua Dean. This is the guy that they said, I think he caught pneumonia, and basically he died within a few weeks of him being admitted into the hospital. They said it was so bad his hands and feet were going to be amputated because they turned completely black, and that he was a healthy 45-year-old and basically died out of nowhere in just a span of a few weeks. And now that we know multiple people have come out and became whistleblowers against the company, it all starts to make sense why the two most recent have made headlines. There's a lot of stuff going on in the aviation industry, as we can see, that we had no idea about. And so I guess we could end this video off with this last clip. This is just another guy that went on a panel and exposed some of the stuff, that he found working for Boeing. It's not the two guys that we've been talking about this entire video, but it's just another one. Like, there's multiple people who've went on record about it. So I think I'll go ahead and wrap it up right here. Play this last clip for y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed this video on a Sunday. Slightly different, but definitely something we needed to talk about. So y'all let me know what y'all think about this in the comments, man. I really want to hear what y'all got to say. And with that being said, it's Black Balloon, and I'm going to see y'all soon. I'm out.
Of a building have to be prepared to accommodate that type of a, let's say, shakeup. It has to be built properly. Right now, from what I've seen, the airplanes are not being built per spec and per requirement.
So your testimony is the 787 line and the 777, the 777 line are you think are not.
Well,
not safe.
they are doing stuff that increases the risk factors. Okay, when you increase the risk factors, it's not just one. You are doing stress concentrations. Those stress concentrations, like breaking a paper clip, you do it once or twice, it doesn't break, but it breaks at some time. As the plane gets older, all of these things that you took, you said it's not a safety issue, it becomes a safety issue.
And the company's response to you was to threaten you?
Threaten you, sideline you, transfer you.
You raised concerns about the 787, and so they transferred you to the 777, right?
Well, yes. Initially, they just cut me off of all the meetings.
Ah.
They took my name out, and then so I was just doing nothing. I wasn't informed of what. Then they transferred me, and they do it pretty stealthy. Oh, we have a job over here. We want you to go over there. So they move you down there, and I come from like 40 years of engineering background. So when I see, and I've taken a lot of stress classes, even though I'm not a specialist on that, but when there's a problematic area that you see, you can recognize.
So I just want to make sure I got the sequence right. So you raise these concerns, you get on the 787, you get transferred over to the 777, you raise the concerns there. They ignore it in both. They haven't addressed any of these concerns. Is that your testimony?
Yes, sir.
And at some point, they start to threaten you. You're talking about your boss calling you on your personal phone and berating you. And when did that start?
Well, that started right after when I said, we have made over 300 plus airplanes. We still don't know how to put the load and sell. What I mean by that, if you build in an airplane, build in a house, it's like, putting the foundation. We have made over 300 airplanes. We still changing our process, like build the foundation to put the airplanes. We are struggling with that because they have changed the process, from stable to unstable situation. They're not building the same datums that we were building. So you're causing your own problem, but you don't want to admit it.